I don't know if anybody in the Twitter space can hear. Um, is it possible for you to make it for them to hear through this?
Um, I don't think so,
Okay.
but I will try to be as expressive as possible. Welcome, lit, w- welcome, Miss. We are live on YouTube as well, and we will opt to have the Twitter space as listeners only. Um, so what we will do here, we will be reading poems by Rumi, and most of the poems will have a reference or be themed around snakes. And I hope everyone watching or listening either on Twitter and YouTube enjoy. This is also a joy for us to engage with these poems, me and Zara. Um, and so let's do this. Let's go. Today is session 3, and so let's start with one entitled Quietness. Inside this new love, die. Your way begins on the other side. Become the sky. Take an axe to the prison wall. Escape. Walk out like someone suddenly born into color. Do it now. You're covered with thick cloud. Slide out the side. Die and be quiet. Quietness is the surest sign that you've died. Your old life was a frantic running from silence. The speechless full moon comes out now. Next one is called The Rider and the Man Swallowed a Snake. A wise man was coming, riding on his horse, while a snake was going into the mouth of a sleeping man. The rider saw that, and acted quickly, so that he might scare away the snake, but he found no opportunity. Since he had the aid of great intelligence, he hit the sleeper several times with a strong iron-covered club. The man took the blows of that hard mace, and fled from him until he arrived beneath a tree. Many rotten apples had fallen there, and the rider commanded, "Eat these, O you who are dangling helplessly in pain." He gave so many apples for him to eat that they were falling back out of his mouth. He was yelling, "Oh, Prince, why have you made killing me your intention, when you haven't seen any injustice from me? If you have an authentic quarrel against my life, then strike your sword immediately and spill my blood. What an unlucky hour when I became visible to you! Oh, happy is the one who never saw your face. Without any crime or sin, without doing more or less, even heretics don't consider this kind of ill treatment to be permissible. Blood is leaping from my mouth along with my words. Oh God, retaliate against him in the end." He was shouting new curses every moment, while the rider kept beating him and saying, "Run into the desert plain." Blows of the mace continued, and the rider in pursuit like the wind. The man was running, and again he fell on his face. He was full fed, filled with drowsiness, and weak. His feet and face were covered with 100,000 wounds. The rider kept leading and releasing him up to night time, until vomiting overcame him, caused by excess bile. Everything consumed, bad or good, came up from him. The snake, together with everything else that was eaten, leaped out of him. When he saw the snake outside of him, he fell on his face before that benevolent man. And when he saw the terror of that big, black, ugly snake, those sufferings left him. He said, "You are the angel Gabriel himself, or else you are God, since you are the protecting friend of merciful kindness. Oh, what a blessed hour it was when you saw me. I was dead and you gave me a new life. You were seeking me like mothers searching for their children, but I was running away from you like donkeys. The donkey flees from its master because of its donkey nature, while its owner follows in its tracks because of his good nature. He seeks it, not because of profit or loss, but so that a wolf or other wild animal may not tear it to pieces. Oh, how blessed is the one who sees your face, or who suddenly comes upon your lane. Oh, you whom the pure spirit has praised, how many babbling and foolish things I said to you. O Lord and Emperor and Prince, I didn't speak, but my ignorance said those words. Don't hold it against me. If I had known the least bit about this situation, I never would have been capable of such foolish talk. I would have said many things in praise of you instead. Oh, you of excellent qualities, if you had said one hint to me about the situation. But you, acting in silence, were so disturbed and were quietly pounding my head. My mind became crazy, and reason leaped out of my skull, especially since this head has very little brain. Pardon me, oh, you of fine appearance and manners. Whatever I said because of frenzy, let it pass. The rider answered, if I had said even a hint about it, all of your gall would have turned into water that instant. If I had told you about the snake's qualities, the resulting fear would have lifted the breath of life right out of your soul. Muhammad said, if I speak truly about the description of the enemy which is within your souls, even the gallbladders of brave men would burst. They would not travel on the roads, nor would they be concerned about any work. Nor would endurance remain in their hearts for supplications to God, nor would strength remain for fasting and ritual prayer. They would become as nothing, like a mouse before a cat, and deeply troubled, like a lamb before a wolf. And no strategy or movement would remain to them. Therefore, I am supporting you without speaking. The rider said, you would not have had the strength for eating the apples, nor would you have had a way or care to vomit. I kept hearing your curses, but I kept driving the donkey forward, and I kept reciting in a whisper, O Lord, make it easy. I had no permission to speak about the cause, and yet I had no ability to talk about leaving you. I kept reciting, every moment from my inward sorrow, O God, guide my people, for truly they do not know. This is the form of the hostility of the wise ones. Their poison is a joy for souls. Okay, let's go to the next one called Acts of Helplessness. Here are the miracle signs you want. That you cry through the night and get up at dawn asking, that in the absence of what you ask, for your day gets dark, your neck thin as a spindle, that what you give away is all you own, that you sacrifice belongings, sleep, health, your head, that you often sit down in a fire like aloes wood, and often go out to meet a blade like a battered helmet. When acts of helplessness become habitual, those are the signs. But you run back and forth, listening for unusual events, peering into the faces of travelers. Why are you looking at me like a madman? I have lost a friend, please forgive me. Searching like that does not fail. There will come a rider who holds you close. You faint and gibber. The initiated say, he is faking. How could they know? Water, water washes over a beached fish, the water of those signs I just mentioned. How can one be orderly with this? It's like counting leaves in a garden, along with the song notes of partridges and crows. Sometimes organization and computation become absurd. Of these 2000 I and we people, which am I? Don't try to keep me from asking. Listen when this out of control. But don't put anything breakable in my way. There is an original inside me. What's here is a mirror for that, for you. If you are joyful, I am. If you grieve, or if you're bitter or graceful, I take on those qualities. Like the shadow of a cypress tree in the meadow, like the shadow of a rose, I live close to the rose. If I separated myself from you, I would turn entirely thorn. Every second I drink another cup of my own blood wine. Every instant I break an empty cup against your door. I reach out, wanting you to tear me open. Saladin's generosity lights a candle in my chest. Who am I, then? His empty begging bowl. So, to explain aloes wood for those who might not know, it's a fragrant, dark resinous wood used in incense, perfume, and small carvings. Another thing that I would like to mention for the Twitter listening folks is well, I will post the YouTube link there as well. Just give me a little moment to copy the link and add it there as well for people to join in. So just a small intermission here. Bear with us. So let's see. So I'll add them both to the visible tweets on the Twitter space, and let's keep going on with the poems. Feel free to speak your mind at any moment. Anyone listening, either in comments. Same goes for you, Zara. Feel free to stop me between poems. Otherwise, let's go to the next one after this acts of helplessness that is called The Mouse and the Camel, which is one of our dialogue poems. Oh boy, that's a really nice illustration of this poem. Spot on. Okay, so it's called The Mouse and the Camel, or How the Mouse Pulled the Rope Attached to the Camel's Nose Ring and Became Self-Conceited. A little mouse caught in his forelegs a camel's leading rope, and from emulation went off with it. By reason of the readiness with which the camel set along with him, the mouse was duped into thinking himself a hero. The ray of his thought struck the camel. He, the camel, said aside, I will show thee presently. Enjoy thyself. All went well, till he, the mouse, came to the bank of a great river, at which any lion or wolf would have lost heart. There the mouse stopped and became paralyzed. The camel said, O my companion o'er hill and plain, what is this standing still for? Why art thou dismayed? Step forward like a man, go into the river. Thou art my guide and leader, don't halt midway and be dumbfounded. He, the mouse, said, This is a huge and deep river. I'm afraid of being drowned, O comrade. Said the camel, Let me see the limit depth of the water. And he quickly set foot in it. The water, he said, is only up to the knee, O blind mouse. Wherefore didst thou become dismayed and lose thy wits? He, the mouse, replied, It is as an ant to you, but to me it is a dragon, for there are differences between one knee and another. If it is only up to your knee, O excellent one, it is 100 ells higher than the crown of my head. He, the camel, said, Another time do not behave so boldly, lest thy body and soul be consumed by these sparks. Contend with mice like thyself, a mouse has nothing to say to a camel. He, the mouse, said, I repent, for God's sake get me across this deadly water. The camel took pity. Hark, said he, jump up and sit on my hump. This passage has been vouchsafed to me. I would take across hundreds of thousands like thee. Since you are not a prophet, go on the road after the prophets, that one day you may come from the pit of fleshliness to spiritual place and power. Be a vessel, since you are not a lord. Do not steer the boat yourself, since you are not the boatman. Since you are not spiritually perfect, do not take a shop by yourself alone. Be pliant to the hand in order that you may become leavened like dough. Give ear to the divine command. Keep silence, be mute, since you have not become the tongue, mouthpiece of God. Be an ear. If you speak, speak in the form of a request for explanation. Speak to the spiritual emperors as a lowly beggar. The beginning of pride and hatred is in worldly lust, and the rootedness of your lust is from habit. When an evil disposition becomes confirmed by habit, you are enraged with anyone who restrains you. After you have become an eater of clay, any one who restrains you from eating clay is your enemy. Since idolaters are devoted to the idol, they are foes to them that prevent their access to it. Since Iblis had become accustomed to being leader, his only folly regarded Adam with contempt, saying, Is there another leader superior to me, so that he should be worshipped by one like me? Leadership is poison, except to the spirit that from the beginning hath in himself abundance of the antidote. If the mountain is full of snakes, have no fear, for it is a mine of antidote within. When leadership has become a bosom friend to your brain, any one who breaks, thwarts you becomes as an ancient adversary. When anyone contradicts your disposition, habit of mind, many feelings of hatred against him arise in you. He is tearing me, you say, from my ingrained disposition. He is making himself like a captain over me. Unless the evil disposition has become headstrong in him, How should the fire of passion blaze up in him through being opposed? He may show some feigned courtesy to the opponent. He may make a place for himself in his heart. But he really hates him because the evil disposition has waxed strong. The ant of worldly lust has through habit become as a snake. Kill the snake of lust in tribulation. Else look you, your snake is become a dragon. But every one deems his own snake an ant. Do you then seek the explanation of yourself, your real state, from him that is Lord of the heart? Until copper becomes gold, it does not know itself to be copper. Until the heart becomes a king, it does not know itself to be an insolvent. Do service to the elixir like copper. Endure oppression, O heart, from him that holds the heart in fee. Who is it that holds the heart in fee? Know well, it is the lords of the heart who, like day and night, are recoiled from the world. Do not find fault in the servant of God. Do not suspect the king of being a thief. Okay, so next one. This one is another dialogical one. And this one, Zara, oh dear friend, if you want, you can be the man and I'll be the woman, or vice versa. I can't hear you yet.
Sorry about that. Let me pull up the poem again. I only
Yeah,
have the
sure.
images on here.
Just do Control F for a man and a woman arguing, or click on the outline of the document on the respective title. This one, unfortunately, will only be partly audible on Twitter, but that's okay, I think. Our pal Zubair, who is listening to us on Twitter, I dearly recommend him to join the live stream on Twitter, on YouTube rather, so that he can have the full experience of whatever this is that we're attempting to do. Okay, so I will be both narrator and man and man. So let's go. So one night in the desert, a poor Bedouin woman has this to say to her husband.
Everyone is happy and prosperous except us. We have no bread. We have no spices. We have no water jug. We barely have any clothes, no blankets for the night. We fantasize that the full moon is a cake. We reach for it. We're an embarrassment even to the beggars. Everyone avoids us. Arab men are supposed to be generous warriors, but look at you stumbling around. If some guest were to come to us, we'd steal his rags when he fell asleep. Who is your guide that leads you to this? We can't even get a handful of lentils. 10 years worth of nothing. That's what we are.
She went on and on.
If God is abundant, we must be following an impostor. Who's leading us? Some fake that always says tomorrow illumination will bring you treasure. Tomorrow, as everyone knows, that never comes. That never comes. Though I guess it happens very rarely. Sometimes that a disciple following an impostor can somehow surpass the pretender, but still, I want to know what this deprivation says about us.
The husband replied finally, "How long will you complain about money and our prospects for money? The torrent of our life has mostly gone by. Don't worry about transient things. Think how the animals live. the dove on the branch giving thanks, the glorious singing of the nightingale, the gnat, the elephant, every living thing trusts in God for its nourishment. These pains that you feel are messengers. Listen to them. Turn them to sweetness. The night is almost over. You were young once and content. Now you think about money all the time. You used to be that money. You were a healthy vine. Now you're a rotten fruit. You ought to be growing sweeter and sweeter, but you're gone bad. As my wife, you should be equal to me, like a pair of boots. If one is too tight, the pair is of no use. Like two folding doors, we can't be mismatched. A lion does not mate with a wolf. So this man, who was happily poor, scolded his wife until daybreak, when she responded.
Don't talk to me about your high station. Look how you act. Spiritual arrogance is the ugliest of all things. It's like a day that's cold and snowy and your clothes are wet too. It's too much to bear. And don't call me your mate, you fraud. You scramble after scraps of bone with the dogs. You're not as satisfied as you pretend. You're the snake and the snake charmer at the same time. But you don't know it. You're charming a snake for money, and the snake is charming you. You talk about God a lot, and you make me feel guilty by using that word. You better watch out. That word will poison you if you use it to have power over me.
So the rough volume of her talking fell on the husband, and he fought back. Woman, this poverty is my deepest joy. This bare way of life is honest and beautiful. We can hide nothing when we're like this. You say I'm really arrogant and greedy, and you say I'm a snake charmer and a snake. But those nicknames are for you. In your anger and your wantings, you see those qualities in me. I want nothing from this world. You're like a child that has turned round and round, and now you think the house is turning. It's your eyes that see wrong. Be patient, and you'll see the blessings and the Lord's light in how we live. This argument continued throughout the day and even longer, a night full of talking that hurts. My worst held back secrets. Everything has to do with loving and not loving. This night will pass. Then we have work to do. Awesome, awesome, man. It's even by several orders of magnitude to do a collaborative reading.
Yeah, good. We're gonna read enough words again, which is a good idea.
Yeah, yeah.
We did that last time.
I think many of these poems have an aphoristic quality to them, and so I think that they deserve for us to repeat them. I don't know if I mentioned this before to you, but there's the tradition in the Persian culture. There was, at least before television, for families to come together, and one of the games that they liked to play was one of them would say a line by Rumi, and the word that ended their line, another one would have to say a line by memory that started with that same word, and they apparently they knew so much Rumi and other poets that they could go hours like this.
That's
So
beautiful. That's fun.
that's a testament to how this oral culture was thriving and so strong.
That's
um,
really fun.
we are like idiots in that dimension compared to them. Okay, so enough words. How does a part of the world leave the world? How can wetness leave water? Don't try to put out a fire by throwing on more fire. Don't wash a wound with blood. No matter how fast you run, your shadow more than keeps up. Sometimes it's in front, only full overhead sun diminishes your shadow. But that shadow has been serving you. What hurts you blesses you. Darkness is your candle. Your boundaries are your quest. I can explain this, but it would break the glass cover on your heart. And there's no fixing that. You must have shadow and light source both. Listen and lay your head under the tree of awe. When from that tree feathers and wings sprout on you, be quieter than a dove. Don't open your mouth for even a coo. When a frog slips into the water, the snake cannot get it. Then the frog climbs back out and croaks, and the snake moves toward him again. Even if the frog learned to hiss, still the snake would hear through the hiss the information he needed, the frog voice underneath. But if the frog could be completely silent, then the snake would go back to sleeping, and the frog would reach the barley. The soul lives there in the silent breath. And that grain of barley is such that when you put it in the ground, it grows. Are these enough words, or shall I squeeze more juice from this? Who am I, my friend? Next one is called A Mystic and a Drunk. The universe turns on an axis. Let my soul circle around the table, like a beggar, like a planet, rolling in the vast, totally helpless and free. The knight and the castle move jaggedly about the chessboard, but they're actually centered on the king. They circle. If love is your center, a ring gets put on your finger. Sometimes inside the moth is made of fire. Something inside the moth is made of fire. A mystic touches the annihilating tip of pure nothing. A drunkard thinks peeing is absolution. Lord, take these impurities from me. The Lord replies, first, understand the nature of impurity. If your key is bent, the lock will not open. I fall silent. King Shams has come. Always when I close, he opens. Okay, and then the next one is called Comparison of Pharaoh and his pretense of divinity to the jackal, which pretended to be a peacock. Thou art even as Pharaoh, who bejewelled his beard, and in his asinine folly soared higher than Jesus. He too was born of the generation of the she-jackal, and fell into a vat of riches and power. Every one who beheld his power and riches bowed down to him in worship. He swallowed the worship of the idol mockers, worldlings. That beggar in tattered cloak became miserably drunken with the people's worship and feelings of amazement. Riches are a snake, for therein are poisons, and popular favor and worship is a dragon. Ah, do not assume a virtue which thou dost not possess. O Pharaoh, thou art a jackal, do not in any wise behave as a peacock. If thou appear in the direction of the peacocks, thou art incapable of their display, and thou wilt be put to shame. Moses and Aaron were as peacocks. They flapped the wings of display upon thy head and face. Thy foulness and disgrace were exposed. Thou didst fall headlong from thy height. When thou sawest the touchstone, thou becamest black, like adulterated coin. The leonine figure vanished, and the dog was revealed. O foul mangy dog, through greed and exuberant insolence, do not clothe thyself in the lion's skin. The roar of the lion will demand from thee the test of thy sincerity, the figure of a lion, and then the dispositions of dogs. Then we have a parable illustrating the fact that mystical bewilderment prevents investigation and consideration. A certain man, whose hair was of two colors, came in haste to a highly esteemed barber. He said, "Remove the hoariness from my beard, for I have chosen a new bride, O young man." He cut off his beard and laid the whole of it before him, and said, "Do thou pick out the white hairs, for it happens that I have some important business." That pick them out is dialectic, for religious emotion has no care for these things, hair-splitting disputes. A certain man slapped Zaid on the neck. He, Zaid, at once rushed at him with warlike purpose. The assailant said, "I will ask thee a question, so answer me first and then strike me." I struck the nape of thy neck, and there was the sound of a slap. At this point I have a question to ask thee in concord. Was this sound caused by my hand, or by the nape of thy neck, O pride of the noble? He, Zaid, said, "On account of the pain I have no leisure to stop occupying myself in this reflection and consideration. Do thou, who art without pain, ponder on this. He that feels the pain has no such thought. Take heed." A parable. And so after the parable, we have the reply of Hamza to the people. And I checked out who Hamza was. Hamza was a companion of the Islamic prophet Muhammad, also a family member of Muhammad. And so Hamza said, "When I was young, I used to regard farewell to this world as death. How should anyone go to death eagerly? How should he come naked, unarmed, to meet the dragon? But now, through the light of Muhammad, I am not subject to this city, the world that is passing away. But now, through the light of Muhammad, I am not subject to this city, the world that is passing away. Beyond the realm of the senses, I behold the camp of the divine King throng with the army of the light of God. Tent on tent, and tent rope on tent rope. Thanks be to him who awakened me from slumber. That one in whose eyes death is destruction, he takes hold of and clings to the divine command. Do not cast yourselves into destruction. And that one to whom death is the opening of the gate. For him in the divine elocution, the Quran, there is the command, vie ye with each other in hastening. Beware, O ye who regard death. Surpass one another in dread of death. Quick, O ye who regard the resurrection. Vie ye with each other in hastening. Welcome, O ye who regard the divine grace. Rejoice! Woe to you, O ye who regard the divine wrath! Be sorrowful! Whosoever deems it, death to be lovely, as Joseph gives us up his soul to ransom for it. Whosoever deems it to be like the wolf turns back from the path of right guidance. Every one's death is of the same quality as himself, my lad. To the enemy of God, an enemy, and to the friend of God, a friend. In the eyes of the Turkoman, the mirror hath a fair color. Similarly, in the eyes of the Ethiopian, the mirror is dark as an Ethiopian. Your fear of death in fleeing from it is really your fear of yourself. Take heed, O dear soul. 'Tis your own ugly face, not the visage of death. Your spirit is like the tree, and death is like the leaf. It has grown from you, whether it is good or evil. Every hidden thought of yours, foul or fair, is born from yourself. If you are wounded by a thorn, you yourself have sown, and if you are clad in satin and silk, you yourself have spun. Know that the act is not the same complexion as the requital. The service is nowise of the same complexion as the payment given in return for it. The labourer's wage does not resemble the work, inasmuch as the latter is the accident, while the former is the substance and permanent. The former is wholly hardship and effort and sweat, while the latter is wholly silver and gold and trays of food. In suspicion fall upon you from some quarter. The reason is that the person whom you wronged has invoked God against you in an affliction which you have brought upon him. You say, I am free from guilt. I have not laid suspicion on anyone. No, but you have committed another form of sin. You sowed the seed. How should the seed resemble the fruit? He, the celibate, committed adultery, and the penalty was 100 blows with a stick. When, says he, did I strike any one with wood? Was not this infliction the penalty for that adultery? How should the stick resemble adultery committed in secret? How should the serpent resemble the rod, O Kalim Moses? How should the pain resemble the remedy, O doctor? When you, instead of casting down the rod, semen ejects in uterum, that semen became eventually a fine human. When you, instead of casting down the rod, ejaculates seminal fluid into a uterus, that semen became eventually a fine human figure. That semen of yours became a friend to you, or like a noxious serpent. Why, then, is this astonishment at the rod of Moses on your part? Does the semen at all resemble that child? Does the sugar cane at all resemble the candy? When a man has sown a prostration in prayer or genuflection, in yonder world his prostration becomes paradise. When praise of God has flown from his mouth, the Lord of the daybreak fashions it into a bird of paradise. Your praise and glorification does not resemble the bird. Through the bird's semen is naught but wind and air. When altruism and almsgiving have grown up, proceeded from your hand, the act of this generous hand becomes on yonder side in the world hereafter date palms and fresh herbage. The water, semen, namely your renunciation, became a river of water in paradise. Your love and affection for God is a river of milk in paradise. Delight in devotion became a river of honey. Behold your spiritual intoxication and longing as a river of wine. These causes did not resemble those effects. None knows how he, God, installed it, the effect in the place of that cause. Since these causes were obedient to your command, the four rivers of paradise likewise showed obedience to you. You make them flow in whatever direction you wish, even as that quality of disposition was in this world, such do you make it the effect to be in the next world. As, for example, your semen, which is at your command, the progeny thereof are ready to obey your command. Your young son runs obediently at your command, saying, I am the part of thee which thou didst deposit in my mother's womb. That praiseworthy quality was obedient to your command in this world. Likewise, in the next world, those rivers flow at your command. Those trees of paradise are obedient to you because those trees are made fruitful by your good qualities. Since these qualities are obedient to your command here, so your recompense is at your command there. When blows proceeded from your hand against the victim of injustice, they became a tree in hell, the Zakum grew from them. When in anger you threw fire into people's hearts, you became the source of hellfire. Since here in this world your fire was burning mankind, that which was born of it was kindling men in hell. Your fire of anger makes an attack on the people here. The fire that sprang from it rushes against the people here. Your words resembling snakes and scorpions have become snakes and scorpions, and are seizing your tail, assailing you from behind. You kept the friends of God waiting, hence you will be kept waiting at the resurrection. Your promise, tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, has become your waiting on the day of congregation. Alas for you! You will remain waiting on that long day, engaged in rendering an account of your actions, and standing in the soul-consuming sun, because you were wont to keep heaven, waiting and sow the seed of, I will go on the way tomorrow. Your anger is the seed of hellfire. Take heed, extinguish this hell of yours, for this is a trap. The extinction of this fire is not to be effected, save by the light. Thy light hath put out our fire. We are the grateful. If you are devoid of the light and do an act of clemency, 'tis evil. Your fire of anger is still alive and is still lurking in the embers. Beware that clemency is mere ostentation and masking the truth. Nothing will extinguish the fire of anger except the light of religion. Do not be secure till you behold the light of religion, for the hidden fire will one day become manifest. Deem the light to be a water, and cleave to the water withal. When you have the water, be not afraid of the fire. The water will extinguish the fire, because the fire by its nature burns up the water's progeny and children. Go for a while to those water birds, that they may lead you to the water of life. The land bird and the water bird have the same body outward appearance, but they are really opposites. They are like water and oil. Each of them is devoted to its own origin. Have a care in discriminating between them. They resemble each other externally. Just as both satanic suggestion and divine inspiration are intelligible, and yet there is a great difference between them. Both These brokers in the market of conscious extol their wares, O Prince. If you are a spiritual money changer, one who recognizes thought, distinguish the real nature of the two thoughts which resemble slave dealers, commending the slaves they hope to sell. And if from your own opinion you do not know the true nature of these two thoughts, say, no deception, and be not in a hurry, and do not push forward. So thanks for bearing with this most epic of pep talks that I've ever encountered. Okay. Let's see what's next. Yeah, we're almost at the end. This was on the long side, and the other ones I think are a bit shorter. Yeah.
No, I think this is fantastic, and I think that that last one was absolutely amazing. There were some really incredibly profound things in it.
Yeah.
So let's do it.
I think I'll be processing it again for quite some time.
Agreed.
This is called setting forth that whatever is denoted by the terms heedlessness and anxiety and indolence and darkness is all derived from the body, which belongs to the earth and the lower world. Heedlessness was derived from the body. When the body has become spirit, it inevitably beholds the mysteries of the unseen. When the earth is removed from the celestial atmosphere, there is neither night nor shade nor sunset. Wherever shade and night or shadowy place exist, 'tis caused by the earth, not by the heavens and the moon. Likewise, 'tis from the faggots that the smoke always arises, not from the resplendent fires. The imagination falls into error and mistake. The intellect is engaged only in acts of true perception. Every state of heaviness, sloth, and indolence indeed is derived from the body. The spirit from its lightness, subtlety is all on the wing. The face is red from the predominance of blood. The face is yellow from the movement or action of the yellow bile. The face is white from the power of the flame. 'Tis from the black bile that the face is swarthy. In reality, he, God, is the creator of effects. But followers of the husk, formalists, see nothing but the secondary cause. The kernel, intellect, that is not separated from the husks, has no means of escape from doctor and disease. But when a son of man is born twice, he plants his foot upon the head of all causes. The first cause is not his religion. The particular, secondary cause has no enmity against him, so does him no harm. He flies like the sun in the spiritual horizon with the bride. Sincerity and material form is as a veil for him. Nay, beyond horizons and skies he is without locality, like spirits and intelligences. Nay, our intellects are the shadows, reflections of him. They fall like shadows at his feet. Whenever the mujtahid, legist, knows a statute, in that case he will not think of employing analogy. But in a case where he does not find a statute, there he will produce an example from analogy. Next one, snake catcher. I'll read the Coleman Barks version. Listen to this and hear the mystery inside. A snake catcher went into the mountains to find a snake. Wanted a friendly pet and one that would amaze audiences, but he was looking for a reptile, something that has no knowledge of friendship. It was winter. In the deep snow, he saw a frighteningly huge dead snake. He was afraid to touch it, but he did. In fact, he dragged the thing into Baghdad, hoping people would pay to see it. This is how foolish we've become. A human being is a huge mountain range. Snakes are fascinated by us, yet we sell ourselves to look at a dead snake. Hold on. We are like beautiful satin used to patch burlap. Come and see the dragon I killed and hear the adventurers. That's what he announced, and a large crowd came. But the dragon was not dead, just dormant. He set up his show at a crossroads. The ring of gawking people got thicker. Everybody on tiptoe, men and women, noble and peasant, all packed together, unconscious of their differences. It was like the resurrection. He began to unwind the thick ropes and remove the cloth coverings he'd wrapped it so well in some little movement. The hot Iraqi sun had woken the terrible life. The people nearest started screaming. Panic! The dragon tore easily and hungrily loose, killing many instantly. The snake catcher stood there, frozen. What have I brought out of the mountains? The snake braced against a post and crushed the man and consumed him. The snake is your animal soul. When you bring it into the hot air of your wanting energy, warmed by that and by the prospect of power and wealth, it does massive damage. Leave it in the snowy mountains. Don't expect it. Don't expect to oppose it with quietness and sweetness and wishing. The nafs don't respond to those, and they can't be killed. It takes a Moses to deal with such a beast, to lead it back and make it lie down in the snow. But there was no Moses then. Hundreds and thousands of thousands died. So this was the one that I said that we really needed to experience this one. And probably afterwards this huge beast went on to the north and it wounded up in where we today call Delphi and was slayed by a nice looking god figure. Who knows? Okay, so let's end with a basket of fresh bread. Then what you do, your actions will be your best friend. Or if you're cruel and selfish, your actions will be a poisonous snake that lives in your grave. But tell me, can you do the good work without a teacher? Can you even know what it is without the presence of a master? Notice how the lowest livelihood requires some instruction. First comes knowledge, then the doing of the job, and much later, perhaps after you're dead, something grows from what you've done. Look for help and guidance in whatever craft you're learning. Look for a generous teacher, one who has absorbed the tradition he's in. Look for pearls in oyster shells. Learn technical skill from a craftsman. Whenever you meet genuine spiritual teachers, be gentle and polite and fair with them. Ask them questions and be eager for answers. Never condescend. If a master tanner wears an old threadbare smock, that doesn't diminish his mastery. If a fine blacksmith works at the bellows in a patched apron, it doesn't affect how he bends the iron. Strip away your pride and put on humble clothes. If you want to learn theory, talk with theoreticians. That way is oral. When you learn a craft, practice it. That learning comes through the bands. If you want dervishhood, spiritual poverty, and emptiness, you must be friends with the sheik. Talking about it, reading books, and doing practices don't help. Soul receives from soul that knowing. The mystery of spiritual emptiness may be living in a pilgrim's heart, and yet the knowing of it may not be in his. Wait for the illuminating openness, as though your chest were filling with light, as when God said, "Did we not expand you?" Don't look for it outside yourself. You are the source of milk. Don't milk others. There is a milk fountain inside you. Don't walk around with an empty bucket. You have a channel into the ocean, and yet you ask for water from a little pool. Beg for that love expansion. Meditate only on that. The Quran says, "And He is with you." There is a basket of fresh bread on your head, and yet you go door to door asking for crusts. Knock on your inner door. No other. Sloshing knee-deep in fresh river water, yet you keep wanting a drink from other people's water bags. Water is everywhere around you, but you see only barriers that keep you from water. The horse is beneath the rider's thighs, and still he asks, "Where is my horse?" "Right there under you." "Yes, this is a horse, but where's the horse?" "Can't you see?" "Yes, I can see, but whoever saw such a horse?" Mad with thirst, he can't drink from the stream. Running so close by his face, he's like a pearl in the deep bottom, wondering inside his shell, where's the ocean? His mental questionings form the barrier. His physical eyesight bandages his knowing. Self-consciousness plugs his ears. Stay bewildered in God, and only that. Those of you who are scattered, simplify your worrying lives. There is one righteousness. Water the fruit trees, and don't water the thorns. Be generous to what nurtures the spirit and God's luminous reason light. Don't honor what causes dysentery and knotted up tumors. Don't feed both sides of yourself equally. The spirit and the body carry different loads and require different attentions. Too often we put saddlebags on Jesus and let the donkey run loose in the pasture. Don't make the body do what the spirit does best. And don't put a big load on the spirit that the body could carry easily.